Greetings and welcome to this program for Meher Baba's 131st birthday. Celebrations are going on all over the world, and here in Asheville, we had a very well attended program just yesterday. And here on Baba's Zoom, we'll be having another program here in a couple of days on the 25th. Today, we're having a speaker. Peter Nordeen is here and is joining to share some of his thoughts. So let's turn to him right now. Jai Baba, Peter.
Jai Baba. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll start with I'll make a few comments and then we'll move to answering questions, discussion. You know, many people give great importance to what are considered miraculous occurrences, which strengthen their faith in God and his what they consider spiritually advanced persons, depending upon that religion. The greater the miracle, the more respected is the miracle worker. Being impressed by the extraordinary supernatural is just a natural reaction for ordinary people. But for God, there are no miracles. As Bob explained, there is only a supervening order of laws in the universe, in creation. God's will is law in creation, and the law of karma supersedes all others. The law of karma is inexorable. Baba tells us that only the grace of a perfect master is above the law of karma. He explained that miracles are less than trivial to the perfect ones. All a play in illusion. Still, there are the stories of miraculous events in the lives of Baba's 5 perfect masters and many others. And though there are examples of the miraculous in Baba's own life, he repeatedly declared that he would perform no miracles and that no one should come to him expecting that. However, we know from the early diaries that miraculous things occurred around Baba and that sometimes to satisfy his lovers, he had to very carefully explain how these things could possibly happen. Yet, we rarely heard about any such things from his mandali. And why was that? Because he told them not to talk about these things. He told them, telling people about sensational events will attract the wrong people for the wrong reasons. My work is for love, and love means sacrifice and self-effacement for the lover. So occasionally one of Baba's lovers would come and say, Baba, there was this problem, but through your miracle, it was resolved. And Baba would reply, don't blame me for this. I know nothing about it. It is only because of your faith in me that it happened. Hearing Baba's comment, one might ask, well then, if it's only a question of faith, couldn't we have faith in anyone or anything and still get the same result if our faith was strong? What's the difference? The difference, of course, is that he is God in human form. He explained about expectations, values, and the proper approach to him in his message, Highest of the High, which the mandali greatly appreciated, that after all those years, he finally came out and expressed it. There is one event, however, that seems most miraculous to us, though it happens very naturally, and that is when the 5 perfect masters of every 11th perfect age bring God down into creation to be born as a man. Being the original spiritual pathfinder and the first master, God's avatar holds the eternal responsibility for all creation. He is the Ancient One. As you know, Baba's favorite song was Begin the Beguine. And we have probably all wondered why that is. I believe it is a perfectly expressed song that the Ancient One sings to creation, more specifically to his lovers, and most importantly, to the one for whom he could not take birth without her very existence, her presence. She is the original other who represents all creation. In this Advent, she was Mara. Understanding Begin the Beguine, we look at the meanings first. The word has a few different meanings. Many of you know that the Beguines were a non-Orthodox sisterhood of the Middle Ages, began in France, 12th century, 13th century, into the 14th century. They lived a chaste and pure life, service to others, simplicity, but they were not taking vows. Does that sound familiar? We knew those people. Yeah. They lived for God. The women who lived for God. Beguine has another meaning. In the 20th century, it became a dance form, kind of a quick dance form from the Caribbean, I believe. It also has another meaning. In French, it has kind of a colloquial meaning as a beguine. Beguine is kind of an infatuation. You know the song. The first line, to me, gives us the clue. This is my take on Begin to Beguine. That first line, when they begin to beguine. Who is they? They is the 5 perfect masters of the 11th perfect age. What's the beguine? The beguine is the dance to bring God down. It brings back the sound of music so tender. Creation comes from the original word. It brings back the night of tropical splendor. Night means without light. Creation an illusion, but still there is a beauty in creation. It brings back a memory evergreen. Life in creation continues constantly. I'm with you once more under the stars. He's back again. And down by the shore, an orchestra's playing. The shore is the closest to the ocean, a spiritual realm where the spiritual hierarchy, orchestrated by the perfect masters, play out the divine plan that he himself has composed. And even the palms seem to be swaying. All life in creation responds at some level when they begin to beguine. To live it again is past all endeavor. For him, taking birth is the constant effort of work through his vicarious suffering for everyone and everything. Except when that tune clutches my heart. He can't resist the love of his lovers, especially her. And there we are, swearing to love forever and promising never, never to part. The life enjoyed with his circle and his true lovers of God. What moments divine, what rapture serene, till clouds came along to disperse the joys we had tasted. He comes to do the work only he can do. After all, and when that work is eventually completed, he drops his body. And now when I hear people curse the chance that was wasted, those who ignored his presence or took it for granted, I know but too well what they mean. So don't let them begin the Beguine. Let the love that was once a fire remain an ember. Let it sleep like the dead desire I only remember. The centuries of rest between Advents. When they begin the Beguine. But eventually then, the time comes for him to take birth again. Oh yes, let them begin the Beguine. Make them play. Make them play with your longing. Make them play. Till the stars that were there before return above you. Till you whisper to me once more, darling, I love you. And we suddenly know what heaven we're in. When they begin the Beguine. I wanted to read two messages from Baba's birthdays in the later years. You know, when Baba stopped traveling so much um, after the accidents, Mani started writing the family letters, and Baba would give a birthday message to people wherever they were. Started in the 50s, late 50s, and went in through the 60s. People were told to celebrate his birthday in their own places, so he would send them a message. The last two messages, I believe are important for us today. In 1968, you know, uh, he gave that message a few times in 1968, wishing his on his birthday, wishing his love to all of his lovers, because in this year something great will happen that has never happened before. It's the final year of his work, the year of the last seclusion, which was called the exclusion seclusion. On near his birthday, he gave this message: from my seclusion, I send my blessings to all gathered in my love to celebrate my 74th birthday. Love makes the formless and infinite become informed and finite as the God-man among men. Love me more and more, because for the sake of love, I have come among you. That was the message sent. And then on the 25th, on this, my apparent physical birthday, I send my homage and obeisance to my lovers who live for me and would, if ordered, die for me. The last birthday Baba sent, last birthday message Baba sent, dictated before he dropped his body. Just before he dropped his body, this message was there. To love me for what I may give you is not loving me at all. To sacrifice anything in my cause to gain something for yourself is like a blind man sacrificing his eyes for sight. I am the divine beloved, worthy of being loved because I am love. He who loves me because of this will be blessed with unlimited sight and will see me as I am. Now, let's go to questions.
Well, if anybody has something to share or ask, please raise your hand digitally. If you like, just wave your hand. I'll try to catch that too.
Well, can I make it just a comment? I have never heard that explanation of begin to begin, and it was just very lovely. And do we ever know if Cole Porter ever heard anything about Baba, or did Baba ever mention uh, how that song may have come to him that way?
I have never heard that Cole Porter knew anything of Baba. This kind of interpretation is just my own take on it. Just
Well, it seems utterly apt. It just precisely apt.
different perspective. But why would Baba, when the song came out, why would Baba suddenly really love
Well,
the song? The
that's
history of it, as
yeah.
you know, the history of it was so important to him that he had Erich. The first time Erich ever spoke to Money, listened to Money, was that Money had to come and kind of sing those verses.
Yeah.
So Erich had to take this all down, and he had to keep that slip in his pocket for years upon years, with the order that if Baba might drop his body anywhere, Erich had to sing that song. He had to bring Baba's body back to Mehrabad. The song had to be sung 7 times after he dropped his body. How important that was. There was some significance to it. I believe Cole Porter wrote it in context to him what was a double entendre. The word Beguine as an infatuation, a tryst, and also a dance. But the deeper meaning to us was the real dance. Why
Well,
did Baba give it so much importance?
it's
Funny
satisfying.
thing,
Yeah.
how could it be through all these years? What some people, I've heard that it has been the most popular song since it was written overall. I don't know that. Ron might know that. I don't know. Uh, it's quite amazing. Somebody sent a video uh, of this song being performed on a film in the late 30s, maybe 1940, whenever it was. And what was amazing is at the end of the film, the 3 dancers, before they go off the screen, say, Baba, something like that, or maybe say Baba twice. I don't know. But clearly it was Baba. How do these things happen? I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, you've convinced us that there are no miracles, so we just have to assume it's karma.
Well, on the subject of miracles, some people, everything's a miracle. The sun rose this morning. It's a miracle. Well, it does that all the time. For the Mandali to see Baba's all-knowing nature, it wasn't miraculous. Yeah, he's there. First time I went to India, Mohammed used to live in the main Mandali hall at Mehrabad there. And I knew that he was a must. I'd read Wayfarers. It was one of my favorite books. So I was just in the hall looking at everything on the wall there. Mina Barucha was a resident of Mehrabad at the time. He walked through the hall and Mohammed told him something. And Mina looked at me and said, "Oh, are you a carpenter?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, he told you that? He knew that?" Mina just said, yes, he knows everything. And he walked away. Oh, this is just, our resonant, lovely fifth plane mosque there at Mirabad. So they observed, there was that beautiful phrase written in Erich's cabin that he had written down. He wrote it in a Gujarati script, but it's a Hindi saying, which says, I'm giving you a paraphrase translation. Though I appear to know nothing, I know everything. And that's really what Erich wrote that down as a very apt reminder right above his bed. So Baba, as Padre would say, would use the phrase, playing the bloody fool, there he was. But all the time, then suddenly he would say something, and oh, what about when, as if he was worried but didn't really know, and they would kind of play it down, and yes, sure enough, something would happen, and well, turns out Baba was right after all. His all-knowing nature would sometimes be very apparent, but he generally hid that from people. Not for his circle people. Those early people, especially Adi, Sarosh, they would all give examples of Baba telling them, why aren't you honest with me? Baba, we're honest with you. Why do you lie to me then? Who do you think I am? Oh, Baba, you're perfect. Oh, I am? So why are you lying? Oh, what do you mean, Baba? And then Baba would bring up some incident from their youth that nobody would know about and perfectly explain that, articulate that whole experience to them, and they would know. He is all-knowing. But he wouldn't do that for everybody. He has to keep that cover. So it was like that. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah, Peter, we have Ron. Ron, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't really have a question, but I was thinking about something, particularly yesterday, that I feel really happy about. And I wanted, maybe you would have a response to the idea, which is I'm noticing that a lot more people are coming forward to share their ideas and thoughts about all things Mayor Baba with their fellow Baba lovers, which is something that I have felt that Baba placed a great deal of importance on. For instance, one of the things was a letter sent to Adi Jr., who asked Baba, when we come together in your name, what shall we be doing? What should we do? And seems to me that the response was, the most important thing is for you to share your thoughts about me. I think that's what Baba said. And I remember one other incident is that Craig Ruff asked Erich one time, this is according to what he said one time at a get-together I was at, that he wanted to know what was the next stage, Erich. And Erich gave it some thought, and then he said, well, and by stage he meant, well, we had when Baba was in the body, and then also when the Mandali were around. So what is the next stage? He says, and Erich said, you all will share. And so between those two things, and just a sense that there is great treasure that we've all been gathering for, in some cases, 40, 50 years. And it doesn't matter how long it is really, but still, we have things to share with one another. And I think that is something, if it pleases Baba, that we should be doing. So what I'm noticing is we are doing it more and more. Recently, I get on the internet and I'm seeing all kinds of people that want to talk about something about Baba. And I'm heartened by this. And I can hardly keep up with all the different talks and things. And also people writing new books about Baba, God, and spirituality. Spirituality is really becoming more acceptable subject. Anyhow, I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about, and I was wondering if you might have seen signs of that as well.
Yes, it is just but natural for all this to occur. Ward and I sometimes get together, do certain projects. Ward has his own work, but when he is here in Asheville, we do question and answer sessions sometimes. But what we have discussed and what we stress is that the responsibility of our generation, those of us who had so much time with Baba's people, is context. Context. Many things have been written. Anybody can say anything they want, and everybody is free, as Baba said, to interpret my words as they best see fit. The important thing is, number one, honesty. And all anyone has to do is stick to Meher Baba. That natural course of being formed by him will happen. We have seen it many times. If it's not authentic, people won't stick. They don't have it. It's the balance between the heart and the mind to some degree has to be there. If there isn't a balance, people aren't going to feel it, catch it, get it. It has to be done that way. Now, somebody asked me while I was in California, do you notice a different atmosphere in different groups? I said, no, generally, we're all Baba's lovers. It's true. However, I will say one thing in India, there's a lot more focus on bhakti and devotion. It's their culture, tradition. Of course, if you go to Hamirpur, it's intense. Baba's love in Hamirpur, my experience, this is now going back 50 years, but Baba's love there is wild. It's wild. It's different. And then you had on the other end, you have different, more intellectual approaches, but anybody is free, of course. Go with whatever you feel is right, honest. We had Baba's constant reminders that the intellectual mind can't possibly get this. It's something much deeper, much more. There's an experience that is beyond the intellectual mind. That doesn't mean we totally abandon critical reason. As a matter of fact, Baba lovers exercise critical reason a lot more than many other people do. And why is that? Because Baba was so particular about the facts and the proper execution of responsibility. So this training for the Mandali was a very natural thing. Now, they couldn't even come into his atmosphere if they hadn't had lifetimes and lifetimes of connection, preparation. They didn't need meditation practices or anything. They just came and they were ready. All he had to do was give them a little tweak here and there, and then they followed orders, carried out their roles in his circle. They were ready.
Peter, can I just mention one thing to you, since I've got you available here and I don't see you very often, but there was something that Mani mentioned in 1973. So we're talking like 50 years ago. This was at Merazad, and there was a few people sitting around her, and she happened to say this one quote that stuck with me ever since. However, I've never seen it printed. I've never seen it in any literature or anything like this that Baba had said this. And I always, at some point, I started wondering, did I actually hear what I thought she said? And so I never had gotten any affirmation or confirmation that this was a thing that she said and that Baba had told the Mandali. And I'll tell you what it is. But before I do, you actually ended a talk that you gave with this particular quote saying that Mani had said this. And it really touched me that Baba waited 50 years in order to give me that confirmation. But the fact that you were, you're here on the screen talking to us and giving us all these different ideas that you have sets a great example. So that what she said was that Baba had said there's 3 keys that one should have on the spiritual path:
Yes.
honesty, humility, and humor.
Right.
And I always loved it, and I really appreciate you bringing it up at that time.
We had in school the 4-H club. Some communities had the 4-H club. Well, we had the 3-H club. That's the 3-H club.
Okay, it looks like we're ready for the next person. Rosalie, go ahead.
It's actually Jonathan here with it. Peter, J. Baba, I had wondered what your take was on the life messages that began in 52, 71, that went through the end of Baba's life, which to me, following the new life messages, we generally don't talk about the life period. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on this period of the final period of Baba's life.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, they became the life messages because they were a result of Baba's new life work. So anybody who wants to understand the depth of all of these things, remember that Baba's life, although we have phases of different work, he integrated all of that into his great purpose, or the great spiritual upheaval that he insisted would happen in this Advent. There were the new life messages because, first of all, there were circulars that often happened during the 30s and 40s. There was a need for that. In the 20s, Baba was there at Mehrabad mostly doing his particular work there, and messages would be sent out to individuals. But as the group of Baba lovers grew, especially since he went to the Western world and he had to communicate with them, there was a need to communicate with his lovers in different areas throughout India also. So these circulars began. It was circulars up until the new life. Then became the new life messages, which Baba occasionally sent out, knowing that his lovers, who he left in this state by leaving, declaring they may never see him again, always wondered constantly what was happening with him. So occasionally these messages would be sent out, which included the adjustments to the plans and all these different features of the new life. Manonash was, as he said, the only obvious end to the answer, the God-determined step. After Manonash work was completed, he gave what he called the first life message, which included that beautiful phrase that came up after the Manonash. God is everywhere and does everything. God is within us and knows everything. God is without us and sees everything. God is beyond us and is everything. God alone is. Beautiful. Religions talk around all of this all the time it's very simple. There it is. One couplet. It's all there. Anyway, the life messages began. And we had the complicated free life, and then the full free life, and the fiery free life. And all of those things really became, features in Baba's life's work. There wasn't always a specific end, but you might consider, let's say, you might consider the last real Fiery Free Life darshan program, which was typical of the programs that he gave throughout India during the Fiery Free Life, happened in Ahmednagar on September 12th, 1954. That when many tens of thousands of people attended that darshan program. Those messages continued. Then after the second crash in India, the car accident in India, Money started with the family letters. And that collection is really a superb. Money was just brilliant. Her expression, her style of expression was just beautiful. So that big collection is there. And within the family letters, you get those life circulars also occasionally. Yeah, and the family letters continued for a few months, well, really a few letters after Baba dropped his body. And then that was also over. Then that new phase happened when so many of us started going there after Baba dropped his body. So, Baba used to talk about 5 phases. So there was, and he said they were 5 phases of the 100-year period after Baba dropped his body. 20 years after Baba dropped his body, Mara died. It was a very significant milestone. By 20 years later, it was pretty much the end of the Mandali age. And now we're in this age where it's kind of a transition. All of this, however, especially now in this time, is what I refer to as an age of spiritual catharsis. For the whole world, America specifically is passing through an age of great spiritual catharsis. It's falseness that must be expressed. The truth is always there behind. The truth is always there behind, but the truth is silent. Always there. Falseness is noise and motion and action and distraction. It has to express itself until humanity says, this can't be real. This is not true. But it has to go through those motions of catharsis for human beings to get to that point. Baba has explained this. He said, only when Baba put it this way, that's a slight paraphrase. All conditions in the world will have to come to absolute deadlock. It will be so severe that not one person in the world would remain unaffected. And only when all of humanity cries out, enough, enough, will I be forced to break my silence. Now he's dropped his body. Yeah, well, he said he would physically break his silence. He did, according to Erich and Francis, make the sound. And it wasn't just clearing his throat in his physical form. The Mandali money especially did not want this to be played up. The Mandali never talked about these kind of things much. They addressed it concisely. They didn't want to give focus to it. We're talking about silence, the meaning, and all that stuff. God speaks, all these things. These are things we're looking at now because we like to pass our time with Baba and everything he has given us. These are ways we do it. It's also, though, has a meaning because it helps us put these things into perspective. What are these things? What's the importance of these things? So when Erich let it out, prompted by his brother in Mondley Hall once that Baba had made the sound, it was taken and then it was printed in the Globe. Nashwan printed it, and Mani was not happy about all that. They wanted people to come for love. Just as it was in Baba's time, come for love. The rest of it was, yeah, it may happen, something, yeah, it's all there, but it's not the thing. They gave us Baba's humanity. It was a great gift to be with them for that. Baba, however, has done all this work in his physical lifetime. The problem is that people expect a result in the physical world, the world in the depths of illusion. They want a result in time and space in the world in the depth of illusion. The problem is that paradigm is upside down. He's already done that work. It's a question of when it manifests. The unfoldment, the manifestation of all that work takes time. And why? Because in his compassion for a world that disdains him in their ignorance, he has, as he said, delayed the effect so that humanity can tolerate his work. That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
I appreciate that. In that vein about that the work was done, but it's in its time, or as that first life circular says, waiting the divine sanction and the divine decree when it actually manifests. The work seems to be done by virtue of Manonash, where Baba says he is now fully living his old life of knowledge, authority, power, and also a new life of being a servant.
Correct.
And he says that result to him was complete freedom, which in that first circular he extends to his lovers, whether they continue to be with him, go elsewhere, whether they follow his orders or don't follow his orders. So it's a choice. It's an incredible empowerment of the individual. But he says the freedom is in accordance with the merit of our love, faith, and service. And to underscore it, the life message 3, he extends his blessings on his Zoroastrian birthday that year, which was the 12th, to his lovers. As he says, I give my blessings to my lovers on this, my first real birthday, accentuating this tremendous effect of this work that he had done. And then that year of 54, when you said the last darshan, in 54 is when he gives up the board and says that the external is no longer important, it's the internal links. And so it seems to me, like you were just saying, the result hasn't manifested externally, but it seems that the import of the life messages is that we are to look inward. He's given us that choice to look inward. So how would you comment on that in the context of the life period?
Yes, of course, and it happens naturally and automatically. It happens naturally and automatically, especially if we stick to him day after day, year after year. As you say, the thing about Baba's explanation after Mananash was that he integrated the old life God with the new life man, and now he is in the full free life as Meher Baba. Mananash was the answer, but the new life, Baba gave great importance to that phase and the study of that phase of his life for the future, for people to try and get the gist of it, all the activities and what all that meant. Those messages that he gave through the following years all reflect his integration of all of that into what he called the life. And it really was about, to me, of course, new life we know. Bob had explained that he essentially had become the perfect seeker on behalf of all humanity. In the fiery free life, he became the perfect aspirant on behalf of all humanity. And again, he played that role of we must beseech God, the meetings at Marabad before the fiery free life, the prayers. He would do these prayer things. People asked me the other day the meaning about the prayers, and there was a kind of an invocation before the prayers, and we're not using that anymore since Bob had dropped his body. What was up with that? That is because those invocations were part of Baba's, we say, a ceremony. It was Baba's work. During those meetings, Baba had prayers, certain things read of at least 4, sometimes 5 religions. What was the purpose of that? Why did he do these things? It was to integrate those faiths into his work, into those phases of his work. So we see that before the new life, we see that before the fiery free life, especially in those years. Later, not so much, but he integrated those faiths into his work by having certain representatives from his Mandali people read these holy books of the certain faiths. By the time Baba dropped his body, that work was done. He was, as you see towards the end of Baba's life, he's going more and more into seclusion, staying apart more and more, even from his closest Mandali. The last seclusion was called the exclusion seclusion, where even some of his closest Mandali didn't see him. The very important work of integrating all those phases of his life's work into the great spiritual cause, which would result in what he said, the great spiritual upheaval, which would result in a release of infinite wisdom for humanity. The breaking of his, which we refer to it as the breaking of his silence. Really speaking, the breaking of his silence was relevant to his physical life, but the result of that, the manifestation, is what we were talking about. What do we care about manifestation, really? We are happy as it is. We like it. It's fine. We have Baba. What do we care? The world can do whatever they want. But Baba said it's for them. They have to feel it. The world has to feel my word. He has come for that work. And that's what we're going to observe. Some of us from the side of life, and some of us from the benches of the astral world, probably. So we'll see what progresses. Okay, next question.
Hey, we have Anthony now. Yes, Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
Hey, J. Bamba, Peter, thanks for doing this. This is great. I hope I can articulate this the right way here. So my question, it's funny you'd brought up the different faiths and all that. So I don't know, reflecting on the great good fortune we have to be in Baba's presence in this Advent, I feel like I'm able to stay connected to that very well through reading, through Baba Zoom, through, different people you have to talk about these things, like Ron was bringing up. So my question as far as the physical, spiritual community that's around the area I live in, there's a handful of us that know about Baba and who are into Baba. And there's a lot of others that are part of different faiths. They're Krishna Bhaktas, they're Ram Bhaktas, they're, into the formless God. So it's funny, I guess my mind naturally over the years is like, yeah, I'm going to, try to, hang around the people that are into Baba more to be able to discuss these things. And it's funny the way life is unfolded. There's been a lot of relationship ruptures with people in that circle. And it seems like, Baba has brought different friendships and closenesses to people who are not necessarily into Baba and knowing about him, but who live their lives in, the way that Baba would want us to live. I guess my question is, do you feel that it's important that people officially know about Baba so much as that they are living in the way Baba wants us to live through, being willing to go through the self-effacement process, through working for God in our life and remembering him all the time? Does it matter if people officially know about Baba or if they are, in other faiths, but are living in a way that would please him? I don't know. I hope that makes sense.
Of course, Baba has said that our only responsibility is to bring his name to their ears. We have no responsibility to bring Baba into their hearts. That's his business. All we have to do is say, Meher Baba. Occasionally someone will say, what are you saying? What's Meher Baba? Meher Baba was the greatest spiritual master of the 20th century. Okay, some answer. Very rarely someone will say, can you tell me more? Very rarely. Why is that? Because they don't have that. They don't have that from the past within them yet. It's not their destiny. I'm not concerned at all about convincing, persuading anybody, because being with Meher Baba is a personal, subjective, deep experience of inspiration. It's a direct relationship with him. Nobody but he can give that to anyone. There is nothing to be persuaded about. No initiation, no conversion, nothing like that. It's beyond all of that. It's a pure personal relationship with him. And frankly, very few people have the relationship of Meher Baba as master. It's a very rare thing. The first responsibility of the avatar as a master is to give realization to his broad circle over the course of the centuries till the next advent, specifically to the first circle within that period of grace after he drops his body. But the rest of them follow and take their positions in the spiritual hierarchy during the following centuries. That's his responsibility. But there are also his lovers and other people. There are also many other people who had connection with Baba, who you wouldn't say necessarily he was their master, but we know, for an example, the high musts and saints, he was the master of masters. There was no question of obedience. They were already there. They were just there to do his bidding, waiting. They were just waiting it out. We've seen that time and again in the examples of the lives of those persons, highly advanced persons who had connection with him. For people who are in the ordinary world, it's a great step for the mind to come to the point where they can accept anyone as a master. Anyone, especially in the Western world. I have my own ideas. I've been thinking about this and why the philosopher so-and-so says, well, such and such. Yeah, okay, that's where you are. That's what it's going to be. Go through thousands and thousands of lifetimes of that, and eventually it's in your head. This is not enough. This is not it. There's something more. But how is it that when a few of us catch on to Meher Baba, it's a thing. We know it. We just know it. Soul connection, Baba says. Soul connection. There's nothing in convincing people and doing all that. It's available if you want it. You know, I have a different approach. We're kind of caught in a peculiar irony. Baba said, now's the time to tell people that I'm God in human form. Okay. On the other hand, we like it like this. My attitude sometimes is, no, Meher Baba, maybe Meher Baba is not for you. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Look elsewhere if you're interested at all. Forget about it. Because it's suffering in life that brings anybody closer to God. Only suffering. You pay the dues. That's it. And we are here because we paid the dues in past lives many times. Many times. It's not so obvious to look at anybody in one lifetime and say why and why not. We don't know. He knows. That's all we can say. So no, I don't give great importance to it. On the other hand, for those who are interested, we have to do anything to help them get over the stumbling block of the intellectual mind, the ball and chain of the intellectual mind. We try to make that ball and chain of the intellectual mind lighter because the heart has to drag it around. That's all there is to it. So Baba has given all of this information that nobody else has done. Anybody who takes a look, it doesn't just take a look at the body of work that Meher Baba has revealed. And you'll always notice one thing in his presentations. He never uses these words, perhaps, maybe, theoretically, so-and-so said, no. This is it. A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Succinctly and very systematically presented. One thing that has impressed people who understand literature about Meher Baba is that, yes, the ideas are profound, but the way he has presented this material, obviously, he knows something. He's not just stumbling around with intellectual process. It's much more than that. What happens is people have to be prepared for that, Bob has said. And unfortunately, the only cure for ignorance is suffering. It takes time. There are many distractions for anyone who considers themselves a spiritual seeker. Endless distractions on the path to seeking truth. Endless. It's, as I say, very difficult for people to accept Meher Baba as a master, but he said, it's okay. Consider me your friend. Consider me your friend. I will help you. He doesn't leave, he's responsible for the whole creation. He doesn't leave anybody in a lurch. However, Mani used to say this, just take that one step to him and he will take at least 10 for you. I got a note that somebody wanted me to repeat this. The quote in the first life circular, God is. God is everywhere and does everything. God is within us and knows everything. God is without us and sees everything. God is beyond us and is everything. God alone is.
Thank you, Peter. Should we move on to Marta? Yes, Marta.
Hi, Peter.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
Excuse me a second. Anthony, did you wanted to follow up with
Oh.
something?
Oh, no, just saying thank you very much. Yeah, no, I know we've got a lot of people in line, but thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, thanks. Yes, Marta.
Peter, I was so happy to see you at Mayher Mount, and I had this question for you there, but it wasn't the right timing for it. A lot of people were there. On suffering, you're holding a very full crucible of suffering with your darling, and you've been going through it a long time. Can you help me? How do you hold that place of love and support when you watch your beloved suffering and suffering and suffering? How do you hold it to uplift and comfort? If you could share a little of that, I would really appreciate that help.
Well, there are a few things when we consider struggles in life, problems, suffering. First thing we say is, thank God it's all illusion. And we can say, it could be worse. And in that vein, we say, think of all the people who suffer so much more. But Baba has very beautifully explained that all suffering is but a ladder towards God for each individual. So right perspective is the thing. We have to remember that these lives we're having, we're just driving a temporary biomechanical vehicle. We're just the drivers of the bus. There are all kinds of things happening, and we're just the driver of this biomechanical vehicle. It has a beginning and an end, and in eternity, it's not even up each lifetime. And Baba says we go through this millions of times. But to suffer during life with Baba is a very great thing. It's a very great thing. It's the way we can progress rapidly, Baba says. And he's our master. We take his word for it. That's all we can say. One day at a time and one breath at a time. That's it. That's all we can say about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Baba.
Okay, let's move on to Sue. Yes, Sue. Sue Chapman.
Whoops. Thank you. This may be a little out of sync now because I was prompted to press the button after Anthony's little questions. And I'd written a poem some time ago for Barbara's birthday years back, but it related to the thing of the curiosity that we found him and others haven't, and how we convey that and whether we do. So it feels like it's overriding a little bit the consideration of Debbie and your suffering over various things, which I adore you both. So I always pray things are going well for you. Anyhow, if I might just share, it's not very long.
Please do.
Thank you. While the world continues to pray in churches, synagogues, and mosques, performing pujas and rituals in temples, yearning for your presence, imploring your return as Ram, as Krishna, as Buddha, Jesus, Mohammed, you have already come, so very quietly, without fanfare of trumpets or the sight of archangels or chariots in the sky. You came in such an ordinary guise, as a brother, as a son, as a friend. You rode your bike around your neighborhood, attended to your studies, played cricket, living in a modest town that did not know the jewel in its midst. But the masters of the age knew you in an instant, recognized your glory, acknowledged your descent as man, and nurtured the agonizing birthing of your divinity in ways even your own mother for so long could not. Answering the longing in our hearts, you came so very quietly that almost the entire world failed to notice. You scattered the seeds of your love in countless barren hearts and stepped away like a trusting gardener, knowing the inevitable flourishing. Your disguises were the flimsiest of foils, a beret here, a fez there, a double-breasted suit, brogue shoes. They might have turned their heads and wondered, who is that? They might have known your glory, but most passed by unseeing, and your silence never caused offense. Amidst the wildest mysteries of our most gorgeous planet Earth, with all its myriad creatures and life forms, however did it come to pass that I, you, we are the few who, having caught the fragrance of your love on the wind, on this avenue or that, knew, just knew, we must track the source above all else. And as extraordinary, having found the source and realized it to be truth, beauty, love divine, the pinnacle of man's desire, the goal, the final resting place, discovered it was a gift we could not freely share, and found with pain it could be rejected and reviled. How can we adequately express gratitude to the one who, inhabiting eternal knowledge, power, and bliss, surrendered unto the entrapment of a mere human form, only to bear innumerable assaults and privations? What mercy did the world provide aside of one supreme woman and a small band of willing slaves? There is no acknowledgement we few can express, no birthday cake grand enough, no song sweet enough, no words to convey the depth of our thankfulness. And so we stumble blindly on, surrendering what we can, regretting what we can't, and hoping above all hope that one day we will see you as you really are, and Barbara's birthday will become every day. You are reborn in me, and I am reborn in you. J. Barbara, happy birthday, Barbara. And Peter, thank you. Always.
Wow. You wrote that, Sue?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Really good.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara gave me the words, as ever.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for that.
J. Barbara.
Yes. Any more questions? Sue, can we
Oh, Michal has a question. Michal has her hand up.
Sue, can you get that printed?
Yes, I can. Or
Please do.
just upload it to you.
Yes, please.
Sure.
Yes, next question then.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I would like you to describe any birthday that you, Baba's birthday that you celebrated with the mandali in Mehrabad that you really liked and impressed you, touched you. So, like the feeling, the fragrance.
They were all good. They were all good. You know, at Mehrabad, we would get up to be up at the Samadhi at 5 a.m. Baba's name would be Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai would be said 7 times. We would say the prayers, and then there would be a few hours of singing. It would be prasad, tea, and then we'd go down the hill. The Arangan people, who had done this for years on Baba's birthday, would have a dance. The men would have a dance called the Lejim. Drums, sticks, and do the Lejim all the way from Arangan through Lower Mehrabad up the hill to Upper Mehrabad. and they would have their time. That would be about 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. They would do that. In the later years, we started this thing where Debbie would usually have a choir, and so many people wanted to sing that we started this thing earlier than the play. So that would happen in the morning, about 11 or so. That would go on for an hour or two at least. And then the play for Baba's birthday would be in the afternoon. In the earlier days, we would do the play at Marisod when Mara was alive. And the play for Baba's birthday usually was a humorous play. Later on, we started doing the play at Marabad, and then it took on a different tone because we after Mara, after Mara died, the last year we had to play for Mara, was up on the hill at the amphitheater just before the tomb. Some wires got crossed and the whole pandal burned at 9 in the morning before the play. The whole cloth covering just burned up within 5 minutes. The wind was just right, just burned completely. We went ahead with the play. We had to rig up some curtain. The curtain burned. Everything burned. It was a big fire. It was cleaned up quickly. We did what we could, put a kind of a covering over where the women mandali sat, the shamyana it was called. We went ahead, they had some bamboo. We didn't have, I don't even think we had electricity reinstalled. The whole play was done. We were in the play. We could see from the stage, the look on Mara's face as the play was going on. It was kind of like, all this is being done for me. Of course, when the fire happened, so many of us thought, oh, what is this? And after the play, the message came, Mara said, this will be the last play for me, no more. And then we really knew. And sure enough, within a few months, then she died. So that's when Baba's birthday play, after that year, we started doing it at Marabad. Well, not after that year, but we didn't have Mara's birthday play anymore. We did Baba's birthday play at Marabad because we could do a much better presentation in what's called Hostelé, the Music and Arts Center. So that went on for years. We did many plays. They would be on spiritual themes, spiritual personalities. Some of them were very good, really good, nice plays. And that was basically how Baba's birthday was celebrated there at Marabad. It's a wonderful day there. Wonderful day. Yeah. Now Westerners aren't allowed to go down the hill, so this year the play is going to be in the amphitheater again. Because non-Indians are not allowed to be down the hill because it's too close to the military vehicle and research development base there. It's another long story. Anyway, that's the situation. Okay. Next question.
Thank you for your share.
Okay.
Well, I don't see any hands up. Are there any last minute hands? And if not, and I don't see any, Peter, do you have any last words for this birthday program for Baba's 131st birthday?
I'll just simply remind everyone, speaking about Mani's last message towards the end of her life, basically a summation to all Baba's lovers. You either want what you want or you want what he wants. Make up your mind. Want what he wants. That sums up the master-disciple relationship, at least. So, Anthony, you mentioned live lives to please him. Yeah, live lives to please him. We try, okay? We try our best. Hopefully we try our best. Remember Baba gave that message, three types of disciples. The one he gives the order to gladly fulfills his order. The second type, he gives the order, begrudgingly they fulfill his order. And the third type, he has to drag kicking and screaming along. We try and be better than that.
So I see that there's a message. Debbie, would you like me to read the message you wrote in the chat? You can nod. No?
Oh, I was just clarifying. Peter, you jumped from Baba's birthday to Mara's birthday. And I wanted to clarify that that fire definitely was Mara's last birthday play. And did you finish telling that that indeed was the last one? Because then
Yes.
she passed away May
Yes,
following.
That was in December. That was Mara's last birthday play.
Yeah.
1988. Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's cleared up. And Michal, your hand went up again.
I just want to say that one of the plays that you put up, and you put up when pilgrims were not there, and in the PC was the spectacle that Mani asked for. And that is so gorgeous. That is so beautiful. And you and Debbie and Ward and so many of the veteran ones who are still with us, very young then.
Right.
And it's so beautiful. And it's wonderful that it was put on video. And I do, how do you say? It's good if someone can just go and look it up in YouTube. It's so beautiful. Peter is there, Debbie is there, Ward is there, Ted is there, Janet is there.
Eric and Heather.
Yeah, right.
Kleiner.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It was just an amazing thing.
Laurel.
Thank you. I wanted to remember that. And now you reminded me that as part of our YouTube viewing in the next few days, Peter and I are going to look up, I think it's called Baba's Birthday Spectacle. So if anybody wants to Google it, it's the spectacle, and there's
Baba's 100th birthday.
A video about it's the 100th birthday.
Oh, yeah, right. That's why because Amani asked that all the lovers would do that in their own places, in their own countries, and not come for that. And it was very small and intimate. And
yes,
beautiful.
She didn't want to call it a play, and it wasn't a play. It was, singing and motions and almost like a silent movie, except for it wasn't silent, but just with the emblematic, beautiful things that were there, imagining what heaven was doing when Baba was born.
And where Baba is now, where Baba and Mara and Mani are all now looking from there on top to see what we are doing down here in the celebrations, and not only in the celebrations, but every day.
Thank you for that reminder. I'm definitely going to look that up either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I see we have another hand raised. It's Cheryl. Yes, Cheryl.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I wasn't going to, but thank you so much for your observations about the Beguine. Peter, for years, ever since I first heard it, I thought, what is in this song that I wasn't getting? I mean, there was so many times over these years. Every time I heard it, I thought, what is really being sung? And what you said today has illuminated that for me. And I deeply appreciate it, because it's quite extraordinary that the whole panoply of God's play. Leela is in that song. And I always believed when I heard it that Baba wrote that song amongst many others of that time period. But Baba was the writer of so many of those love songs. They're sung to a woman or they're sung to a man, other songs. But that I knew somehow deep inside me that Baba had written each song. And that's what I believe about this one of Begin the Beguine. And so many people I felt who were musicians and writers in those days who wrote those incredible songs that are sung on Broadway in musical theater. It was Baba who wrote them. So thank you deeply for
Thank you.
sharing.
Glad you like it. You are
Oh my God.
absolutely correct. We see during Baba's lifetime this great surge of creativity, expression of love that wasn't there before. Especially during Baba's lifetime, it was really amazing, the great love songs that we had during that period. It was a surge of creativity and expression of love. Yeah, it's true. Begin the Beguine. This is just my take on it, a different perspective. Anyway,
Well, to me, it explains every single line practically. To me, it does. For me, it does. So just, I'm deeply grateful for that.
glad
Thank
you
you. I was glad that I was here today to hear it in its immediacy of presentation, rather than on seeing it later on Zoom. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Bringing us right back to the beginning, because Peter shared with us about the very beginning of our time together. So it looks like we're at the end. And I asked you, Peter, if there was a last word, and was that the last word?
I was just remembering money and her emphasis. Want what he wants. Want what he wants.
Okay. I shouldn't have asked that because now here comes Rosa's hand. Rosa, no, it's fine. Rosa, go ahead.
Jai Baba, everyone. Thank you so much, Peter.
Okay.
I want to share 2 lines of Baba's that for me are so beautiful and powerful and illustrate his perfection and brilliance of a few perfectly placed simple words on love. So here it is. Love is the reflection, excuse me, love is the reflection of God's unity in the world of duality. It constitutes the entire significance of creation. Jai Meher Baba.
Hey, Baba. Really good. Okay. Thank you all for being here today.
Jai Baba, Peter.
Hey, Baba.
Bye. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Jai
Happy
Baba.
birthday,
Jai
Baba.
Jai Baba, thank you.
Jai Baba.
Nice to
Jai
see you,
Baba.
Baba.
Happy birthday